In this video, we will discuss about development of embryo in Ephedra. Ephedra belongs to Gymnosperms. How does this occurs? Before formation of embryo, there is a process called as Syngamy or fertilization. Like we discussed in earlier videos, this is the archegonium of the Ephedra, has elongated neck, ventricanal nucleus, and this is the egg nucleus. Now this is the pollen grain which germinates to form the pollen tube. It carries two male gametes. Now this male gamete will fuse with the female gamete, right? And this fusion of egg plus male gamete, this is called as syngamy or fertilization. And this part, which is the having egg nucleus, and then this is the male gamete, right? Now this will get converted into diploid nucleus, 2n nucleus, and this is called as zygote. Now zygote will divide to form the embryo part of the Ephedra. How does this occur? Now this is the zygote, which is diploid, produced after fertilization. It has a diploid nucleus, 2n nucleus. This will undergo mitotic cell division, and this nucleus will divide to form 2 nuclei. Then these 2 nuclei will divide to form 4 nuclei. Then this will divide into 8 nuclei. So you can see here, these are 8 nuclei. These 8 nuclei, they will develop a wall like this. And ultimately, these 8 nuclei will develop into proembryos. So these are proembryo. Proembryo are the cells which will form the embryo later on. Now we can see here, these proembryo, they just get elongated like this. So lower 4 or 5 will develop into functional embryo. So this proembryonal stage, in which 8 proembryos are produced, and out of 8, 4 or 5 they become functional. So this is also called as precocious cleavage polyembryony. So if this is the one proembryo, how this develops into functional embryo, this we will discuss. Now we can see here, this get elongated like this, tube-like structure is there. This tube-like structure is called as suspensor tube. And this nucleus, which is present over here in the suspensor tube, this will divide into 2 nuclei. This is one nucleus, this is another nucleus. And this is the appearance of the vacuole in this part. Now this cell, this is called as embryonic initial, which is going to form the embryo. This part is the suspensor, which will absorb nourishment for the growing embryonal cell from the female gametophytic part. Now this embryonal initial will further divide into 2 cells like this, and this will become secondary suspensor. This is primary suspensor, and this will develop into secondary suspensor, and this cell will develop into embryo. So we can see here, this is the primary suspensor, secondary suspensor, and this cell will now divide into 2 cells like this, then into 4 cells. Then this will divide into 8 cells by right angle to the first one, and ultimately 8, 16, 32, and we will get again pro-embryo stage. These are embryonal cell. Now these cells will undergo differentiation. Now here this part will become plumule, and these cells will get differentiated to form the cotyledon, and this part toward the suspensor tube will develop into the radical part. Now this is the mature embryo of the Ephedra, which is being produced inside the ovule. Now when ovule ripens, and this will form seed. So when ovule ripen, this process, ovule ripening, is called as formation of seed. So what is the structure of seed in Ephedra? This we will discuss now. We can see this is the longitudinal section of seed of Ephedra. So we can see here this mature embryo, which was formed after embryogeny. Now this is present over here. These are cotyledon, and here will be the plumule part, and this part is the radical part of the embryo. And this is developing inside the female gametophytic part. So this is the female gametophyte, from where this is also absorbing the nourishment. And these outer coverings, this is the outer integument, and this is the inner integument. They lose water, they become hard, and they form the seed coat. And this outermost covering, which is of the strobilus of the ephedra, this will become fleshy, and this will also cover the seed of the ephedra. And this part is the opening, which is called as micropyle, and this part is the chalazal end of the ovule. Now this ovule will ripen to form the seed. So this is the mature seed of ephedra. Again I'll repeat, this is the mature embryo part, this is the female gametophyte, this is the nucellus part, this is the nucellus where in which female gametophyte develops, this is the inner integument, and this is the outer integument, and this is part of the strobilus brackets. They become fleshy and cover the seed. So this is longitudinal section of seed of ephedra. Now this seed, when conditions become favorable, this will germinate, and when seed fall on the soil and moisture is available, this will absorb water, and this sometime this may also start germinating inside the strobilus also. Then this is called as vivipary. Now this seed, when germinate, this part is the plumule part which develop into the shoot system, and this radical part will develop into the root system. So ultimately we'll see radical is developing into root, and a plumule part is coming out along with the cotyledons like this. This part cotyledon, and here plumule is there. So this will develop into the shoot system. So we can see here, this is again coming out from the seed during germination. Now it has straightened up. These are two cotyledon, and here in the center will be plumule part, and this is the radical part which will develop into hypoctyl or the root system, and this is the covering of the seed. This part which is the covering of the seed, they will remain attached over here. This is called as remains of testa. Ultimately this will also fall off, and these cotyledon, they turn green in color, and here this is the plumule which will form the first foliage of the ephedra, and this hypoctyl part will develop into primary root. This will start developing into secondary root, and then they can develop tertiary root. Now cotyledons, they are providing nourishment for the formation of the foliage, first foliage, and then further leaves will occur, and this will give rise to the mature plant of ephedra. First this is young seedling which is being produced, then this will develop into mature plant of ephedra. So this is all about structure of seed, formation of embryo, and germination of seed of ephedra. Thank you for watching my video. If you like my video, please like, share and subscribe.